Something is not right. In the darkest parts of our planet, where storms never seem to end and the ocean stretches endlessly into the unknown, there are places that should not exist. Waves crash violently against nothingness. Fog covers what lies ahead. And somewhere far beyond what we can see, something ancient is waiting. For thousands of years, these places have remained hidden, not because they are impossible to find, but because they are impossible to understand. Ancient ruins, lost in time, standing silently as if they are watching us, watching and waiting. But the real question is, waiting for what? Because today, we are going to uncover something that might completely change the way you see history. Not just history, but reality itself. So before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself something. Do you truly believe that we know everything about our past? Or is it possible that something has been hidden from us? Because what you are about to see does not fit into the story we have been told. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. So stay with me until the end, because the final mystery might be the most disturbing of them all. Now imagine this: a world before modern civilization, before machines, before technology, a time when humans were supposed to be primitive, simple, basic, struggling just to survive. That's what we are told. That's what history teaches us. But what if that story is incomplete? Because scattered across the world, there are structures that should not exist in that timeline. Structures that show precision, engineering, and knowledge that feels far beyond what ancient humans should have had. So the question is simple: who built them? And how? Because even today, with all our advanced tools and machines, we still struggle to recreate what they made thousands of years ago. Now look closely. Focus on what you're about to see, because this is where everything starts to change. This is Pumapunku, located high in the mountains of Bolivia. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than broken stones scattered randomly. But don't let that fool you, because this place is not random, not even close. Take a closer look. Slowly, carefully, these stones are cut with a level of precision that should not exist. Perfect straight lines, sharp edges, exact angles, almost like they were designed using advanced machines. But here, the problem. This site is believed to be over 1,000 years old. Let that sink in. No electricity, no machines, no modern tools. And yet, this level of perfection exists. So let me ask you something. How did they do it? How did ancient humans cut stones this perfectly, without the tools we use today? Think about it. Even with modern technology, this kind of precision requires advanced equipment. So how is it possible that people thousands of years ago achieved the same result? Or something even better? Now look even closer. Notice the angles, the cuts, The symmetry. This is not accidental. This is intentional. Planned. Designed. Engineered. So who designed it? And where did they learn how to do this? Because this doesn't look primitive. This looks advanced. Now here, where things get even more strange. These stones are not just perfectly cut. They are also incredibly massive. Some of them weigh over 100 tons. That's not just heavy. That's almost impossible to move. Even today, moving stones of that size requires cranes, machines, and careful planning. So now ask yourself, how were these stones transported? Across mountains, across rough terrain, without roads, without wheels, without machines. Take a moment and imagine that. Picture yourself trying to move a single stone that weighs that much. Now imagine moving dozens of them, positioning them perfectly, aligning them with precision. It doesn't make sense. And yet, it happened. So what are we missing? Was there a method? A technique? A technology? That has been lost over time? Or is there something even deeper? Something we haven't considered? Because the more you look at Puma Punku, the more questions appear, and the fewer answers you find. Now let me ask you directly. Do you believe this was built using simple tools? Or do you think there is something more to the story? Now, let's go even further. Imagine a place even more impossible. A city built not on land, but on water, in the middle of the ocean, far away from everything, isolated, mysterious. This is Nan Madol, and what you are looking at should not exist. At first glance, it looks like a collection of small islands, but it's not natural. It's man-made. Over 90 artificial islands, connected by canals, forming an ancient city, built directly on water. Now stop for a second and think about that. Building a city is already difficult. Now imagine building it on water, without modern tools, without technology, without machinery. How is that even possible? But that's not the only mystery. Because the entire city is built using massive stone blocks, huge volcanic stones, stacked carefully on top of each other, creating walls, structures, and pathways that still stand today. But here, the problem. There are no natural sources for these stones nearby. No mountains, no quarries, nothing. So where did they come from? And more importantly, how were they brought here? Across the ocean, without ships, without cranes, without any advanced tools. It raises a serious question. How did ancient people accomplish something that we would struggle to do even today? Some local legends say these stones were moved using unknown forces, something beyond human understanding. Now that might sound impossible, but look at what you're seeing. Does this look normal to you? Or does it feel like something is missing? Because sometimes the truth sounds impossible, until you see the evidence. Now think about this. Why build a city here? Why choose such a difficult location? What was the purpose? Was it for protection? For ritual? Or something else entirely? Because nothing about this place feels random. Everything feels intentional, planned, designed. So let me ask you again. What do you think? Was this built by ancient humans, using methods we don't understand? Or is there something more to this story? Because this is only the beginning, and things are about to get even more unbelievable. Now, what if everything we've seen so far is not isolated? What if Puma Punku and Nan Madol are not separate mysteries, but part of something bigger? Because the deeper we go, the more connections begin to appear. And once you start seeing them, you can't ignore them. Now imagine this. You're standing in a completely different part of the world, different continent, different culture, different time. And yet, you see something strangely familiar, massive stones. Perfectly cut, perfectly placed. No gaps, no cement, just precision. This is Sacsayhuaman. And just like before, something doesn't feel right. Look closely. These stones are not small. Some of them weigh over 100 tons. Irregular shapes, yet they fit together perfectly, almost like a puzzle. But not a normal puzzle. Because these pieces are not carved to fit. They look like they were shaped to match each other exactly. And here's the most unbelievable part. You cannot fit even a blade of grass between them. That's how precise they are. Now think about that. Even modern construction struggles to achieve this level of perfection. And yet, this was done thousands of years ago. So again, how did they shape these stones so perfectly? How did they move them? And how did they place them with such accuracy? Because this is not just skill. This feels like technology. Now let me ask you something. If ancient humans were capable of doing this, then why did that knowledge disappear? Why don't we see this level of perfection in later structures? Why does it feel like we moved backwards instead of forward? Because history tells us that humans evolved, improved, advanced over time. But these structures suggest something very different. They suggest that something was lost. Now think about that carefully. Backhand index pointing, right? What if ancient civilizations were more advanced than we think? Backhand index pointing, right? What if something happened that reset everything? Because if that's true, then everything we know about history is incomplete. Now let's go even deeper, because what you're about to hear might change everything. In the middle of the Egyptian desert stands one of the most famous structures in the world, the Sphinx, a massive statue watching silently over the sands of time. We've all seen it, we've all heard about it. But what if we've been told the wrong story? Look closely at the body of the Sphinx. Notice the erosion marks. They don't look like wind erosion. They look like water erosion, heavy water erosion. But here's the problem. The Sphinx is located in a desert, a place where it almost never rains. So how did water cause this kind of damage? There's only one logical explanation. At some point in the past, this area experienced heavy rainfall, not just once, but for a very long time. And that would mean the Sphinx is much older than we think, much older than recorded Egyptian history. Now pause and think about that. Backhand index pointing, right? What if the Sphinx existed before ancient Egypt? Backhand index pointing, right? What if it was built by a civilization we don't even know about? Because if that's true, then who built it and why? Now let's go even further back, to a place that should not exist, Göbekli Tepe. This site completely changed what we thought we knew about human history. Because according to everything we were taught, complex structures came after agriculture, after humans settled down, after civilization began. but Göbekli Tepe breaks that entire idea. Because it was built over 11,000 years ago, before farming, before cities, before everything. And yet it contains massive stone pillars, perfect carvings, detailed symbols. This is not primitive, this is organized, advanced, intentional. So how did people who were supposed to be hunters and gatherers build something like this? It doesn't make sense unless they weren't as primitive as we think. Now here's the most disturbing part. This entire site was buried on purpose, carefully, deliberately. Almost like someone wanted to hide it. Now ask yourself, backhand index pointing right, why would anyone build something so massive? And then bury it, backhand index pointing right, what were they trying to protect or hide? Because you don't bury something like this unless it's important, very important. Now let's connect everything. Pumapunku, Nan Madol, Sacsayhuaman, the Sphinx, Göbekli Tepe, different locations, different cultures, different timelines. And yet, they all share something in common: precision. Knowledge engineering that feels out of place. So what are the chances that all of this happened independently, or is it more likely that they were connected? Now think about this. What if long before recorded history, there was a global civilization, a civilization with advanced knowledge, technology, understanding of engineering, astronomy, energy. And then something happened, a massive event, a catastrophe, a flood, a shift in the planet, something that wiped them out almost completely. And the few survivors started over. From zero, that would explain everything. Why knowledge appears suddenly and then disappears. Why ancient structures seem more advanced than later ones. Why there are gaps in history that we cannot explain. Now ask yourself honestly. Backhand index pointing right, what if we are not the most advanced civilization to ever exist? Backhand index pointing right, what if we are just the latest? Because that changes everything. Now let's go to one final mystery, one that might be the strangest of them all. The Nazca lines, massive drawings etched into the ground, so large that they can only be seen from the sky. Animals, shapes, perfect lines stretching for miles. Now here's the question, how do you create something like this? Without seeing it from above, think about it. You cannot draw something perfectly at that scale while standing on the ground. You need a higher perspective. So how did they do it? Did they have a method? Or were they guided? Because this is where things become truly difficult to explain. Now take everything we've seen. Every structure, every mystery, every question, and ask yourself one final time. Backhand index pointing right, does this feel like coincidence, or does it feel like something bigger? Because the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. We don't have all the answers. In fact, we might not even be asking the right questions. Because history is not just what is written, it's what survives. And what survives is only a small part of the truth. So what was lost? What was erased? What was hidden, and why? Because if the truth about our past is different, then our future might be too. And maybe, just maybe, these ancient structures are not just ruins. They are messages, warnings, clues left behind by a forgotten world. A world that might have been more advanced than us. And if that's true, then one question still remains. Backhand index pointing right, what happened to them? Backhand index pointing right, and could it happen again? Now before you go, I want you to think about this. Out of everything you saw today, which mystery felt the most real to you? Was it Pumapunku, Nan Madol, the Sphinx, or something else? Comment below, I'm really curious to know what you think. And here's something even more interesting. What if this is just the beginning? Because in the next video, we're going even deeper. We're going to uncover secrets that are even more disturbing. Hidden evidence, strange discoveries, things that were never meant to be found. So make sure you don't miss it, because the next part might completely change everything you believe. Until then, keep questioning, because sometimes the truth is hidden in plain sight.